Hi, so I want to introduce the concept of motivational conflicts, which is covered in Chapter 5. So we've talked a lot about experiences or situations in which consumers are positively drawn towards products, right? So consumers realize that there's a gap, that there's a void that exists for whatever reason. We talked about the difference between needs and wants, right? We said that a want is a particular manifestation of a need based on cultural background and experience. But in all these situations, we pretty much consider how consumers move towards products in a positive manner, right? But with motivational conflicts, what we want to consider is that in some instances, there may be some tension that consumers may want to gravitate towards a product, but there may be guilt or there may be other factors that serve as a deterrent, right? And so again, motivational conflicts covers that tension or that pull that might exist when consumers are evaluating purchasing decisions. So there are three primary conflicts. There's approach avoidance, and avoidance. And I'm going to break down all three. So with approach, basically what we're saying is that there are two positive alternatives, both of which have benefits. But by choosing one, you forfeit the benefits associated with the others. So think for a moment, maybe about your two favorite vehicles that you would buy when you graduate from our beloved North Central, and you have a whopping salary. I don't know, let's say you're making $50,000. What cars would you guys consider? What are your top two favorite choices? All right. So what we want to consider is, I don't know, maybe you have a Mustang on one end, or maybe you have a Jeep on the other. I'm not sure what you guys like. Or maybe you have I'm not sure, right? So, but the important thing to keep in mind is that by choosing one alternative, you forfeit the options of the other. So you have two attractive options, both of which have positive benefits, but you're going to miss out on one by choosing the other. So let's say, I don't know, I'm going to go extravagant. Let's say you come out of undergrad and you're making $80,000, right? Or whenever you hit that $80,000 marker in your career, you decide you want to choose between a BMW and let's say a BMW, a BMW's 300 series and a Mercedes C-Class. And you're driving down the highway and all of a sudden, what are you going to be paying attention to? You're going to be paying attention to automobile ads because it's at this moment when cognitive dissonance sets in. So you are like, what's cognitive dissonance? Okay. So cognitive dissonance just refers to buyer's remorse or refers to that guilt that we sometimes have. So, you have those experiences when you're shopping with your friends and they're like, get it. Oh, you look so great in it. Or you're with your mom and she's like, oh, you deserve it, etc. Right. When we've overspent, we purchased maybe too much, or maybe we didn't put a lot into our purchasing decisions. In those moments, we may experience cognitive dissonance. Cognitive dissonance generally sets in too when we're talking about high involvement products. Maybe we've spent a significant amount or the product was very expensive. We experience that cognitive dissonance, right? And we'll talk about cognitive dissonance in lectures to come. The second conflict that we want to consider is approach avoidance. So let's say with approach avoidance, you have a positive product or positive, there's some benefits associated with the product, but the avoidance part represents the negative characteristics of the consumption experience. So many of us like dessert, right? But we don't necessarily always want to order dessert because we're apprehensive about the calories associated with it, right? Some people may want to purchase fur or purchase leather, but they're apprehensive about the tension or the backlash with respect to PETA, and they're concerned about the treatment of animals, right? And so there are numerous products that we can think of, whether it's, buying KFC and, is KFC mistreating the chickens, etc., right? But we know there are numerous products that we may gravitate towards, but there could be some negative characteristics of that product or the consumption experience, which may cause us to feel bad, right? In those instances, we may experience cognitive dissonance as well, right? We go out, we buy a fur, and all of a sudden we're feeling guilty because of PETA, right? So again, that's approach avoidance. So we have a product that we're gravitating towards, but we don't want the calories, we don't want the backlash, we don't want the guilt that may occur because of the negative aspects of that product or consumption experience. The last conflict that we're going to cover is avoidance. With avoidance, you're basically caught between a rock and a hard place. So in this case, let's say you're driving a hoopty. Your muffler is hanging low. People can hear you 2 blocks down. You're driving by Old Main and they can hear you all the way down at the stadium, right? So you're caught between a rock and a hard place because if you buy a new car, you won't be able to pay your rent. You won't be able to put money down on your tuition, nor will you be able to pay your books, right? So avoidance just refers to 2 unattractive alternatives. So you don't want to take medicine, but you don't want to go to the hospital, right? So again, 2 unattractive alternatives. And then we want to keep in mind the role of cognitive dissonance or buyer's remorse across these situations. All right. Thank you.